Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to Math Sparks. In the previous video, we discussed transformation of water refraction. Now we are going to discuss the rotation methods. Okay, whenever we are describing rotations, we always describe these three things that are center of rotation. Let me just open up my pen. Okay, we always going to discuss three things whenever we are describing the rotation. The first thing is center of rotation. The second is angle of rotation and see the direction of rotation in which direction it is going. Whenever we discuss about direction, we always mention two things. The one thing is clockwise, the other thing is anti-clockwise. Okay. I hope you guys know what the clockwise and anti-clockwise movement is. Okay, clockwise movement is always in a way the clock is moving. If you have an analog watch or an analog clock hanging in your home, okay, you guys can see it in which direction is the needles are moving. That is clockwise movement, and in the opposite direction, it is always considered as anti-clockwise. Okay, I hope till here I might be clear. Okay, so in rotations, we're going to describe basic heating, the center through which the rotation is happening, the part B, or the second thing, the angle at which is rotating. For example, 90 degree, 180 degree, or 270 degree. It depends on the question, what the question is asking us, or at which angle we have determined it. Okay, whereas the construction of rotation comes, I'm going to post a new video for that. I'm going to post all the construction video for diffraction, enlargement, translations, and rotations in the coming soon videos. Okay. Now coming towards our shortcuts. Okay. I have created these shortcuts again for you guys to help you guys in the exam. Okay. The first shortcut is whenever it is mentioned rotation 90 degree clockwise. We always swap the both places and change the y signs. Okay. For example, I have a point that is considered as 1, 2. Okay. So what are we going to do? We're going to swap this places for the both thing. That means it will be what 2, 1. After that, we have to change the sign or change the y sign. So it will be 2 -1. This will be our final answer. Okay. Now coming towards the second shortcut, that is rotation 90 degree anti-clockwise. Whenever we are discussing anti-clockwise, we will follow the same steps that we have done before. We will swap the both places. For example, that we have done in the previous example, and over here we will only change the x sign of it. Okay. So for example, if we have a triangle, and for over here it's a point of 1, 2. This will 2 and 3. Okay, this point will be considered as, let's say, it is um 1 and 4. Okay, 1 and 4. Okay, and if I say I am having a rotation 90 degree clockwise means I will swap the both places and change the y sign. So I will swap this thing means 2, 1. Let me change the color first so you guys can identify clearly. 2, 1. And later on, I will change the y sign. So it will be 2 -1. Same goes over here for 2 and 3. I will swap the places. It will be 3, 2. And changing the y sign, so it will be 3 -2. Over here, I will swap this thing again. 4, 1. And later on, changing the y sign only. 4 -1. Okay, now coming towards the third thing. Whenever the rotation is happening 180 degree, in 180 degree, the clockwise or anti-clockwise doesn't matter. Okay, so whenever the rotation is 180 degree, we will just change the signs. Okay, moving on to the more rules. Okay, whenever rotation, I have again mentioned, whenever we are doing rotation, we describe the center of rotations. Okay, and center of rotation doesn't always is 0, 0 or the origin of the graph. Okay, sometimes in the question the center of rotation is changed. For example, they can give any point to you, so you guys can fall from that point. You guys have to rotate the object. Okay, to in order to obtain the image. Now coming towards these two more rules that says that if the center of rotation is 0, we will directly apply these shortcuts that we have mentioned above, okay, directly. But if the center of rotation is not 0, we're going to apply three more rules. Okay, what are those rules? First, we will subtract the center. For example, if I have a point, for example, by subtracting a 0, I can give you a center point as 2, 0. Okay, that means I will have 3 points. Okay, let's take the 3 points that we have mentioned above: 1, 2, 2, 3, and 1, 4. So 1, 2, 2, 3, and 1, 4. Okay, so the first step was subtract the center. Subtract the center. Center was this was the C is considered as center. If it is not C given, it will be given as O. O is always for origin. Okay. Okay. Now coming back towards our basic thing is solving these step by step. Okay. I'm gonna write down the centers again. There's 2, 0, 2, 0, 2, 0, and then I'm gonna subtract these points from the center. So it will be, if I subtract 1 minus 2, it will become 1 minus 1, and this will remain as 2. If I subtract 2 minus 2, it will be 0, and this will remain as 3. Okay. Coming towards over the last point, 1 minus 2 again is considered as minus 1, and 4 minus 0 is considered as 4. So these points will be our rotation point. Okay. Mark these points, apply the shortcuts now. Now apply the same shortcuts that I have mentioned over here. Okay. If there is a 90-degree rotation, clockwise, we will swap the both faces, change the y-axis. If we have a 90-degree anti-clockwise, we will swap the both faces, change the x-axis. If we have a 180-degree, we will just change the signs. We will not swap the coordinates. No, we will not swap the y-axis with the y-axis with the x-axis. We will only change the signs. Okay. After changing the signs, we will add back our thing. So here, for example, let's do. For example, if we are given a question as 90-degree clockwise, we are given 90-degree clockwise. What we are going to do? We will swap the both places, 2 minus 1, and change the y-axis. So it will be plus. Same goes over here. 3, 0. Since it is already 0, so we don't have to change just the sign. Okay, now coming towards the last point, we will swipe it and change the sign. So this will be our what? This will be a 90-degree coordinate. But this was step number 2. Now coming towards our step number 3. What the step number 3 is saying? Adding back the center. Now we add back our centers. The centers what? 2, 0, 2, 0, 2, 0. We'll add back. At first, in step 1, we subtracted it. Now we are adding it back. Okay. So now we will add it back. So now 2 plus 2 is again 4 plus 1. This will be uh, 5, 0, and this will be 4 plus 2 is 6, 6 plus 1. Okay. So this will be our rotating point for the 90-degree clockwise movement. Okay. I hope you got my point. 90-degree clockwise movement. I hope you got my point by now. So this is it for the rotation things. In the next video, I'm going to explain you translations and enlargement.